Oh, it was war. It was bitter.
I was just a snotty-nosed kid. I wanted to be something.
If they didn't think you were any good, you were gone.
Roach from the back.
My life could have been very different in so many ways.
It's right to Ray Shaw, who's all by himself. He has a shot for goal.
Blood just oozing out of these Warren. He is a marvellous guy.
Everybody's got to get in and get the damn thing now. Come on out there.
It didn't matter what they did. They wanted success.
If Collingwood win, he said half of us won't be here next year.
We're fighting to put our name on the map.
Absolute ferocious contest. Life and death stuff.
Yeah, come on out there.
The couple were returning home from a recording session and about to enter the building when the gunman opened fire.
1980, was he? Did he get killed in 1980?
I've been to where he was shot, just opposite Central Park.
John Lennon, I believe he may have got shot.
Did he get killed that year? Time flies, eh?
Some have said that we paid people to fake her death.
The dingo? Yes, certainly, that was huge news.
Hell of a lot of turmoil that year. Very sad time.
Yeah, The Club. That was released in 1980.
Fantastic show. I watch it, must watch it once a year. I just love it.
Yeah, I can remember the club being filmed at Collingwood. Rene Kink was involved quite a bit in that.
Jab. Against. Tank.
Yeah, that was an interesting time and an interesting movie to be involved with. Forget about the dialogue that you'd have to remember and be involved with, but that's why they're professional actors and that's why we're footballers.
What he got out of actually doing the show was McDonald's vouchers. That's what he got out of it, and I think he used them pretty well for the year.
Gee, the time flies, doesn't it? 1980. Yeah.
There's the siren, bringing the game to an end, and the flag to Richmond.
Richmond, too good. Their second successive premiership. What a thrill for them.
Simply sensational. For in about, 10 years or so was just a magic thing.
I was just lucky to come along to a club that had a great winning culture.
I came from a dairy farm. We milked 150 cows, 7 days a week. I knew that when I came to Richmond, this was my opportunity in life. I'd dreamed about being there since I was about 12 years old, so I was prepared to do whatever it took.
Yeah, I turned up at Richmond straight out of a shearing shed with hair and a red beard and looked like a ghost.
It was Graham Richmond who lured Tommy Hafey to Punt Road in the 60s, and together they enjoyed the glory years.
Graham Richmond was a fairly tough administrator. Graham was hell-bent on winning flags.
They wanted success, and it didn't matter what they did to get that success.
If you weren't towing the line with what they thought that you were supposed to be doing, okay, you're gone.
Yeah, there was guys going up to the committee room and never be seen again. Where'd he go? Oh, he's gone to another club or he's been given the flick.
Steve Torbin, and he opened up the locker and there was a little post-it note. It was about 4:30. You're now playing with Essendon. You've got to be at training by 5 o'clock. Well, that's what he got.
We never made any pretensions about what we were there for. We were there to win at any cost.
Havey quit after failing to receive the full support of the Richmond board.
I think it's the right decision because I do believe a new face and a new voice is probably needed at Richmond right now.
When I resigned from Richmond, I didn't think I could coach against the Tigers. And then when Collingwood spoke to me, I thought, well, why not? They're on the bottom of the ladder.
He turned the place around with basically the same playing squad.
We went from bottom to top one year. And that was because we were mentally tough, we were physically fantastic, because he got us that way.
This is the public face of Tony Jewell. But how many people have seen the other side of Tony Jewell, the plumbing salesman?
Great. Another win? Yep.
I was of the view that we were on the verge of being a pretty good side, but we were a bit soft.
Tony took over in '79, and the training was just brutal. Like, it was just horrific, and we trained for 4 or 5 hours. It was just crazy stuff, and to be blokes passing out.
The first training night, though, Tony Jewell called us all in, all the guys there. He said, I'm the coach, training's going to be hard. And if I hear anyone whinging, don't bother turning up the next day. You can piss off, I don't want you.
One night, I remember that it was 41 degrees and it was at 5:30, and they said, tonight we're not going to train you for that long. And then about 3 hours and 21 minutes later, we finished.
We jogged over to the botanical gardens. No water. Not one looked like water. And we're going, well, they said, sign of weakness.
They had this silly regime that they would say, well, if we don't give you any water, that'll toughen you up.
They had these sirens. 3 ambulances were lined up and blokes were getting oxygen.
There was one young player who was taken off in an ambulance.
It was a fairly tough pre-season, and I reckon it cut a few players' careers short. When you look back now, you couldn't put a team through a pre-season training like we put that poor old lady side through. They'd all get up and walk out.
At the time, I thought this is madness, but you know what? It took its effect, and we took it on board, and we were super prepared for 1980.
Sharking off the pack was Bartlett. He comes in, he read the play beautifully.
Against Collingwood at Victoria Park was certainly the start of our 11-game winning streak.
Yeah, when we beat Collingwood, I think we got belief that, yeah, you know, we are the real deal.
In 1980, Richmond were the team to beat.
Looking through the names at Richmond, they did really have a great side.
If I can remember rightly, their captain, Bruce Monteith, struggled to get a game at times, and that's how strong they really were.
All words, it's in your court. Come on, with
TJ put it to us. He said, I think we're good enough to go all the way. And, you know, at the time you think, well, yeah, maybe.
I've always thought we could go all the way, but I've never thought that we would go all the way.
And I can remember saying to the players, boys, if the grand final was to be played tomorrow, who'd win it? And I could almost see the look on their faces, the realisation that we're onto something here, that we could win it.
Peter Jones and Tony Jewell could not agree on the scores, or something, on qualifying final day.
came to blows. Well, that's unusual when the two respective coaches get into loggerheads.
Percy Jones wasn't too happy that we had their psychologist, Rudy Webster, at the time.
Rudy was terrific at helping you with control of your mind, and he had a big say in the success at Richmond.
But there were guys there that went to him during the year that were hypnotised every week. And I can remember this meeting on the Thursday or the Wednesday before the grand final. I'm sure we're all hypnotised. We went through a 10-minute sort of briefing with him. There we were like absolute demented. It was like we were prepared for the battle.
The Cats went to the preliminary final, but this time Peter Dacos and Ronnie Wearmouth haunted them in a thriller.
Our road to the grand final was really tough.
Collingwood had come from 5th, and it's the first time that any side had come from 5th.
I was pretty happy to be playing Collingwood. I thought they were probably close to the worst side in the finals race.
Tommy Hafey had done a great job in getting Collingwood to the grand finals that he had in 77, 2 of them, and 79. Even though he'd taken a bottom side to the top of the ladder, they hadn't won the premiership under him.
Against your former beloved team, Richmond, do you have any special desire to beat them?
Oh, no, not really, although that, of course, would be really lovely. You know, I just think that it's a match that we have just got to win at all costs.
Well, once again, Collingwood loses in the grand final.
Yeah, and the collie wobbles was a big thing in those days. You've started to believe that, you know, this is an impossible dream.
It just gets away from you. It's just an amazing thing to think that each year you play in these grand finals and you need to try and give that extra effort, and I can promise you it doesn't work that way.
The media didn't help us, really. They kept on presenting it at us that, will the collie wobbles go or will they continue?
How confident are you, Tony?
Very confident. Haven't let ourselves down in any major game this year, and I can't see it starting Saturday.
We had obviously a team meeting and Graham Richmond piped up and he said, oh, that's before you all go. He said, we're playing the mortal enemy on Saturday. He said, if they beat us, half you blokes won't be here next year. So I thought that was pretty brutal.
Definitely fair income. That's how you're meant to feel.
Today's grand final parade typified the way in which things have changed since Collingwood and Richmond last met in a grand final 51 years ago.
Most of us back in those days, we worked, you know, so you sort of had to say to the boss, you know, you got to go off to the grand final parade, you know. I'll be back at 2 or back at 3.
Wonderful memories of the grand final parade, going down Bourke Street and having a coffee brought out to me from the boys up at Pellegrino's every time I went down. I went down 6 times. I always found playing grand finals the week was terrible, just because of the pressure and the stakes, and I wouldn't mind just turning up all of a sudden on a Saturday morning, you know, but the week leading up is just terrible. Not something I really want to go through again.
Geoff Raines is there.
Geoff had a terrific year. He was Brownlow medal favourite.
I can remember the night the ones would come out and no ones.
They used to read the 1 votes out first. I said, oh, Rainesy, you never got any 1 votes. That's terrific. You'll get 2s and 3s.
So the cameras got more fierce on me. He's going to get 2s, and no 2s come out, so he's going to get a hell of a lot of 3s.
I said, oh, mate, you'll be right here. You've had so many best on the grounds. You won our best and fairest.
Halfway through the 3s, it wasn't looking good to even get a vote.
By the end of the night, he wanted to give me one, I reckon, just belt me one because, shut up, will you? You know, and he never got a vote.
I mean, I was embarrassed. I mean, the cameras kept coming in harder and he's talking it up and the media had been talking it up. And, yeah, well, I mean, I want to go and hide.
Very surprising he never got a Brownlow vote at all.
I think there was a bit of a campaign behind the scenes from the umpires.
Australia as a whole would have few, if any, sporting occasions each year to rival the grand final.
I've been to cities that never closed down.
Nervous. Yeah, I was nervous. I just, yeah, big day.
I mean, people say, treat it as a normal game. But that's crap, because it's not a normal game. Some handled it well and others didn't, and I didn't.
We believe that whoever we met come grand final day, that we were well prepared.
I saw it in the rooms before the game, so you look in the bloke's eyes and I said, tell you what, Collingwood's going to have to play a really good game to beat us.
You think you're doing the right thing, you think your body's right, you think your mind's right, and your one endeavour is to go on grand final day and beat your opposition and play better than you have before.
I used to get pretty nervous, yeah. Yeah, it was the end of the world stuff for me. The hardest opponent is a little bloke in your head saying you can't do it.
Leading the side out, I can honestly say it was a bit of numbness. I didn't hear anything.
When you run out with 100,000 people, it's just electrifying. You're that focused and determined, you're in another world.
An unbelievable experience, you can't explain it. And I'm thinking, this can't be me, it can't be happening to me.
Umpire Bill Deller at the Melbourne Cricket Ground commences the 1980 VFL Grand Final between Collingwood and Richmond.
they're in for thrills and spills. Calling the turn the underdog at the moment.
Our main objective was to be full on in the first 15-20 minutes to see if we can dictate to the Tigers how we were going to play.
Would go into attack, but only just away from the centre line. And there's Craig Stewart starting off in fine fashion again. Dacos, short pass towards right half forward, looking for Young in front of Bourke.
We'd done all that planning. We knew what we had to do. Tony had a game plan in place. Very aggressive with the ball, aggressive with the man.
Up to the wing, just behind and takes it easy mark. 15 metres, Magro. Weightman calling for it, that's his target.
15 minutes in, and it'd been pretty much an arm wrestle. And then we started to break clear, and they just couldn't keep up.
Running to an open goal, he's lining them up. Yes, it's a goal. The Tigers first. Bartlett there to the crumbs. Before back to Roach. Roach has taken the mark from behind.
They had a lot of homework on us as a team, and they could obviously see our weaknesses, and they really came out. They just ran on top of the ground and hurt us right from the start.
Rene, Kink, who's led Collingwood right into form in these finals after being out of form midway through the season, being dropped.
Rene's one of those guys who can actually turn a game very quickly.
He was a class act. Like he could do things you wouldn't believe.
You know, when he's rolling, he was marvellous. But, you know, it is a big difference between good and bad with him.
Rode by Kink, bad luck, lost his footing. Oh, he's got himself into trouble again. There's the mistake from Kink. Look at Peter Moore, waiting for the chest mark. Surely he yelled out, let it come.
He was a confident player. He had to have a really good first quarter, and he could continue. But if he got starved for opportunities early, it kind of just faded away.
They say lightning doesn't strike twice in the same place, but again, Kink spilling the mark.
And I think Lou Richards, more or less called me the incredible Sulk, not the incredible Hulk, and I mean, every right to. You believe you have the right frame of mind, but maybe there was something missing.
Here's Bartlett, right out the pocket, skirts around them. First goal of Bartlett got played. He's kicked 14 goals in 2 finals appearances this year to be best on ground in both of Richmond's finals games.
The thing I can remember really clearly about that game is Kevin Bartlett and kicking those goals and the way he's lifting his arms and the Richmond crowd going berserk.
Like the pace he had, it was just magic. I haven't seen anybody play league football faster than him.
Magro and Bartlett. Bartlett, watch him go.
I'm seeing Stan Magro chasing Bartlett, who was at that time quite a bit older than most of us. And he was leaving Magro by 3 or 4 metres every time he turned on him.
It's a bit like Benjamin Button, actually. He seems to be getting younger looking as he's getting older. But at that stage, when I was 20 and he was, 30 or something, he looked like he was 50.
Yes! Magro late on the scene, and there'll be 15 metres there for sure.
I think he was trying to just get up KB a little bit and be a bit physical with him.
Don't shake your head, Stan Magro. That was stupid football.
Standing footy, walk all over with it. KB had other ideas.
Bartlett and Magro into it.
It's really on down there. Magro really wants Bartlett.
You can understand Stan trying every trick in the book, I suppose, because he wouldn't live with Kevin Bartlett as a player, talking about.
Unfortunately, he didn't shove him hard enough.
All Richmond and Bourke. Typical Francis Bourke stuff, diving after the ball as if his life depended on it.
I was just hanging on. I was conscious there was another generation coming on.
One of the greatest players ever played the game. It's like having an extra man on the field. Wouldn't know defeat.
Francis, to me, was the toughest, most determined person I've ever seen on a footy field.
Veteran Francis Bourke came off second best in this collision. But they breathed them tough in Tigerland, and Bourke went to the forward line with blood streaming from a deep cut.
It was all over. Blood. He couldn't see. He's pushing away the trainers and all that kind of stuff. I'll be right.
My eye was bleeding, and it was a nuisance because I couldn't see.
They'd mop it off and just profusely bleed again, but it wouldn't go off. Just a scratch. After he did it, off.
easing out of his forehead.
Took the mark, got up, just wiped the blood away. And he would run through a brick wall if someone asked him to do it.
Here's a marvellous goal. If he kicks this goal, he'll be an inspiration for the team.
In another game, look, Francis, he played with a broken leg. I believe the 74 grand final last quarter, he had a broken fibula.
Some of the games I've seen him play with injuries, most people will miss weeks and weeks.
With blood pouring from his face. Bourke takes the collision!
It was just one of those things that happened. Look. Some of these things get better with age, you know what I mean?
Tigers lead by 23 points.
You can see it in their eyes, they wanted to win desperately. They're just not going to give you one inch.
Every time we come into the huddle, everyone was saying, okay, scores are level, let's start again, let's start again. A great
effort now required by Collingwood to lift themselves. The Magpies in heaps of trouble. Spills a sit-up. Oh, Carlson could have picked it up, but a very clever kick off the ground. Young misses an easy mark. 3 bad mistakes by Collingwood. I think we've seen more mistakes from Collingwood in about 40 minutes of play than in the 3 finals they've played in the series so far.
Well, you try harder because it becomes down to a personal thing.
You've got to be able to look at your teammates and look at yourself in the mirror, so you just don't give up.
Ray Shaw. Oh, it's close. A goal. Just knocking it.
If you get a reputation of not being a good finals player, well, it just live with you for a long time.
Well, here's Mervyn Kane. He's kicked one already, and that's his second. And Richmond thrashing Collingwood.
The way we played was seriously incredible, our passion and vigour and aggression.
Coming at him is Welsh. Woolno grabs him. Welsh grabs him by the hair and puts him down. I think Woolno's going to get a headache there from Peter Welsh.
He's got him by the hair and virtually took him around. The next minute, he looked up and he's got a handful of hair. You know, he pulled it out. You know, it was all in his hands. He's brushing it off. And I think he might have wanted to give it to KB.
I think he almost became instantly bald.
He had the photo hanging up on his wall in his office, so he's pretty proud of it.
His story was a pretty amazing story. I mean, we called him Lazarus at that time because he was 19th or 20th man for the reserves in the last game of the season.
But somehow Tony Jewell and the match committee thought that there was a role for Pete.
But I remember talking to Graham Richmond and saying to him, mate, look, we just need a lift, and I want to bring Peter Welsh into the side.
He was on the grog on the Monday night with all the seconds they didn't make the finals. Rang him up, Busher, I want you training, I've got a job for you.
Looking for Welsh, who's got Woolno against him. Clever mark, Welsh.
His pace, courage, everything about him. If he was in the right frame of mind, he was just what we needed.
Pretty nuggety player. He's pretty tough and tenacious, but no champion. He'd look like $1 million today.
Would have been the best 5 players on the ground in each of the finals, and it was just unbelievable.
You know, win, lose or draw, Woosher was the lifeblood of Richmond Footy Club, and fantastic guy, and it's very sad that he passed away.
It's been all the Tigers in the first half, a margin of 43 points.
Hafey sought out his captain, Shaw, for some explanation as to why the side was without a winner on the field.
Probably in the back of your mind, you're thinking that, Jesus, we're way off the beam today. But I went around to every player, trying to get them to keep their heads up and just keep on pushing, and things may turn around.
Get a breather, that's all it was. Get a breather, suck it in, we're all in this together, and let's go, let's keep thumping them.
Wiley gets it back, left half forward, 50 metres out. Oh, what a kick! And Richmond kicking them from everywhere and doing no wrong.
Wiley in full forward looking for Bourke. Great use of the body, quick mark, still the open goal coming up.
bloke that actually had a couple of injections in his ankle before the game so he can get through because we weren't too sure he was going to play.
Runs on, no problems whatsoever. The big lumbering fellow, 2 bounces, making a farce of it almost, and he kicks a goal.
He's got that funny running style. It's like a big locomotive.
Oh, a hobbled camel.
He kicked 6, but there were probably 6 different styles of kicks that went off the side of the boot and round corners.
Roach from the back. Oh, what a grab.
110 goals for the year. 2 today makes 112.
We were dominant with big fellas. You know, Cloak, Roach, Jess, and they just couldn't match it.
Kick number 5 to Raines. Looking for Jess. Easily, Jess.
Jimmy Jess went from a struggling half-back in 6 weeks to being an All-Australian centre-half forward.
Jimmy Jess was just having a blinder at centre-half forward. Mark Lee was sort of tapping everything he could, beating Peter Moore.
Lee takes it. Look at the big man. Says if Peter Moore can do it, so can I.
And I thought Mark Lee was the best on the ground that day.
Look, Peter Moore's a dual Brownlow medalist. He's a terrific player. But it didn't seem to matter. He was suffering in the same way that the other Collingwood players were. I think he was probably exhausted.
They just took us apart and it was just, it was like we couldn't do anything to stop it.
But it was just such one-way traffic.
I kind of jokingly say I can't remember what type of footy we were using, whether it was a Sharon or a Falkland, because I didn't touch it very often that day.
Taken by Raines, screaming down the ground, spectacular.
We were probably B graders playing against an A grade side at that stage.
And the Woods, like the boy who fell out of the boat, are just not in it.
I went in thinking it'd be almost impossible for us to lose. We have to do something drastically wrong to lose this game.
May have been thinking that we've got this one, but you certainly wouldn't have showed Tony that you were thinking that way, because you might have been sitting on the bench.
Let's go. We're fighting to put our name on the map.
Most of them were probably too scared of Tony Jewell having a dip at us at 3/4 time if we dropped off, because he was a nutter when it came to that. He'd give it to you.
I know, I can still remember my first game. TJ's come in and he was so ropeable and so upset. He's just kicked this trestle and the water and the Powerade or whatever it was, it just went flying. And I thought, well, we've got a fiery character here.
And I was just hiding under this other table and I was going, is this really what goes on all the time? It was a bit scary, really.
But then his attitude is that his players are human beings, not unmotivated morons, and they deserve to be treated with respect.
I remember TJ going off his brain and, there was no respect in the room. People were talking and laughing. I looked over and I think it might have been the Premier or the Deputy Premier. He's launched into them and said, how dare you, you've got no respect. And he started frothing at the mouth and getting really upset. And I thought, well, if he can pay out on those guys...
Cost me my job, I think, that one, getting with the politicians. But, I know, I was pretty outrageous at times. In fact, sometimes I get no cringe to think of some of the things that I did.
As a coach, success in football comes not because you're a nice guy, but because you're a winner.
He was a very emotional coach, and that's the way he coached.
Start of the last quarter of the 1980 grand final, and the flag would seem to be Richmond's because they lead by 59 points.
Come the last quarter, it was just a matter of can we get this 30 minutes over in 5 minutes, because that was the way it was, yeah. We were gone, we were gone for all money.
As GR told us, if we had lost it from there, I don't think any of us would have been left the next year.
Jess, close handy, he'll want support soon. Straight to Weightman, onto Jess, and he's run nearly too far, he's kicked the goal.
We were confident the back line would hold up, and it was our job to kick a winning score.
But there's Mount on the way. He's played a very good game indeed for Richmond.
That back line was working well. We were basically a bunch of no-names except for, say, Francis.
The back half, led by Mickey Malthouse and Francis Bourke, desperate, and play to win at all costs. And no compromise.
Great play by Malthouse. Stole the ball away.
When we played Geelong in the second semi-final, the excitement was a little bit dimmed for Mickey Malthouse.
Malthouse faced the tribunal on 2 charges of striking Geelong ruckman John Newman.
He was so worried that he might get rubbed out for that game that he had to change his shirt 6 times. He sweated so much, so profusely. He was just going, I can't believe it, this is so bad that I've gone through all these shirts.
The tribunal agreed with Malthouse's version of the incident and cleared him of both charges.
Eventually it came to nothing and played in the grand final.
Jess well placed again. Oh, great mark over the back by Picken.
Billy was a big occasion player, but he was fantastic.
Our greatest finals player in my era was Billy Picken.
Comes to the ball now, plays for the free kick. Good decision. Picken really playing for that. Umpire Robinson not fooled one little bit.
Yeah, he did stage for him. It was about that, Billy. If he got a bump, he went down as though someone's hit him at 400,000 miles an hour.
Billy wouldn't do that, would he? Of course he would.
He gets a lot of free kicks, doesn't he, Bill Picken?
Billy wouldn't play for a free kick. He was always talking to his opposition or the umpires and, come, get out of the way, here comes Billy, here comes Billy.
You're trying to pump yourself up, a bit like those boxers before they come out. They're all, all pumping themselves up before a bout and all this sort of stuff. Then they get knocked down after about 30 seconds.
Jess gets into his back or into his neck, and Picken holding his head.
He got hit in the head about 3 times. He kept saying, is this the grand final? And which way are we kicking? And I kept saying, our way. I tell him we're kicking our way. I said, no, it's not the grand final. And
out of it a bit, but because it's a grand final, you just got to sort of get yourself together. There was no concussion rule in those days. Having a small brain helps.
Long kick straight up the ground. Cloak again. And at the back, Roach. On to Bartlett. Here he goes.
KB was kicking goals from 10 rows back in the grandstand. He was kicking them from everywhere.
Bartlett going for goal under pressure, but he still kicked it.
KB was a very, very hungry footballer. He may have, socketed the ball out of my hands in the 10-metre square a couple of times.
Chance for Bartlett over his head, and he kicks out of bounds. Well, he's kicked them from everywhere else. He might as well have a go at that.
And he says a lot of times, Tommy said, don't fall for that handball stuff. It's only a fad. It won't last. God Christ, how wrong was he?
Bartlett, unselfish to roll in. 12 tries at the goals, and that's another one for Richmond.
We've all fainted. He must have been under the pump. He must have had 4 or 5 blokes hanging off him.
I can't actually remember him giving one away. Did he go 2 away, you reckon? I find that hard to believe.
This is Bartlett. He's kicked 6 already. He could go all the way and go for 7 and equal the grand final record. You rarely hear the MCG on the last Saturday of September so quiet.
It was just getting worse. We had no legs. The road to the grand final was taking its toll. It was just too hard for us at the end. We wanted to get out of there as quickly as we can. We were really disappointed in our efforts.
It was like burning quicksand. The wheels fell off and the axle went with it.
This will be the 7th grand final defeat for Collingwood since they last won a flag in 1958.
We probably didn't do much right, to be quite honest. Happened on the biggest day of the year when we're hoping everything's going to go okay.
Open goal and wait for the Bronx cheer.
We sensed that Collingwood had run their race.
To a certain extent, it was an anticlimax. I was expecting, like a absolute, ferocious contest. It's just life and death stuff.
Tony Jewell about to become a premiership coach.
I reckon it was about at the 5-minute mark of the first quarter, and I turned to Alan Cook, who was the chairman of the selectors, and whispered to him, and I said, we're not going to get beaten today.
It was actually the easiest physical game of the year, and you did have time to think to yourself, I'm going to enjoy this.
Richmond
think it's just that first sort of reaction is relief. We've won it.
I think one of the umpires on the day said I would have got a vote in the grand final. A bit late, but look, you know, I'm pretty happy with the premiership medallion and best and fairest in the premiership year. That'll do me.
To play in a grand final and finally, yeah, you've won one. It's an amazing feeling. Every footballer's dream.
This has been a crushing victory of the greatest proportion.
Presentation to the losing side. They'll receive a medal. It's just the first time that's ever happened.
To come off the MCG and be beaten by, 15 goals, you think, hang on a minute, was that real? Did that really happen today?
I remember being in the rooms after the game, you know, it's just like a morgue it was. It was terrible.
I played in 6-day grand finals, never won one. As time's gone on, I have got angry. There's enormous pain. Did I believe I've been cheated and robbed? Yeah, I think all Collingwood players have played in some of those grand finals do.
It is sad that we didn't win a premiership. I was there for 5 full years, and we were in 5 grand finals.
You can look back on it now and say we did achieve a bit, but they don't have any reunions for the losing grand final side, so.
Tony Jewell, he's seen his brother play and lose grand finals, and now he is the champion.
Even thought about not going, and I probably left 5 minutes before the end of the game. To be honest, I think I just had to get out of the place. I think everything was kind of on me, and I felt teary, and I just got in the car and I cried on the way home. Playing in 5 losing grand finals, and why couldn't one of these happen to me? And I didn't see Tone till later that night. I remember him giving me a big hug and saying, mate, you should have had one of these, you know, so...
I think my name changed after that from Stephen Mount to Stephen Mount, 1980 Richmond premiership player.
Yeah, it's changed my life as a premiership player, and they can't take that off me.
Some of the guys lost their medals. So you get to the end of your lap of honour and all of a sudden, where's that cherished thing, that medal? You know, they had security guys searching for the medals, and everyone got their medal back.
Look, it was just party time for a couple of weeks, and enjoy it and let your hair down.
A week after, it was me 21st, okay, back in Mildura. The CEO come up and he's walked in with a premiership cup. It's full of grog and everyone's drinking out of it and everything. He's come back to me, hey, Flea, what, mate, you seen the cup? I said, no, I had to drink out of it, why? It's gone missing.
The cup went to Mildura with Flea, and it ended up at the Holy Communion at the Catholic Church in Mildura.
You've got to go to the 10 o'clock mass. We found the premiership cup. The priest knocked it off last night.
People were talking about Richmond being the team of the 80s.
You know, I think everyone felt that it was such a talented team that we would win another 2 or 3.
Tony Jewell, in his second year of coaching at Richmond, he may be secure for a couple of years at least.
TJ got the flick at the end of 81, which is, if you think now, he's coached a premiership, so really unsettled the place.
The harm that does, you know, I mean, that to keep changing coaches and then keep changing coaching philosophies and recruiting philosophies, and I mean, it just keeps putting you back and back and back and back.
Former Richmond captain David Cloke took his case to the newly formed appeals board last month in a final effort to be cleared to Collingwood.
Look, the recruiting wars between Collingwood and Richmond were incredibly detrimental, mainly to Richmond.
We lost David Cloke and Brian Wood and Terry Smith, Geoff Raines to other clubs.
I sat down and had a look at my future, and I can see a good future at Collingwood, and that's the decision I made.
Oh, it was war. The Tiger faithful turned against me and Clokey, and it was bitter.
He broke the club, I think, really. I mean, we were rattling cans in 1988, 89, 1990 to save the club.
You know, I'm hoping that it's not another 33 years until Richmond have another premiership.
I feel sorry for my kids and their kids, you know. We've got a 2-year-old, 3-year-old grandson who says, "Go Tigers." And I think, my God, what have we done to this poor little kid? Let's hope we can crack it for a successful run here, because otherwise they'll never know what they missed, I suppose.
I was just so pleased to play one game, because that's what I wanted to do as a kid. And then to win a grand final, wow.
And it doesn't really sink in until, you know, even not only days after, but years after. Mick Malthouse and myself, we still talk about how fortunate we are.
I was lucky enough to be at the right time, at the right place. They're so hard to win.
That's something that's been ticked off as a boy, that it was a dream. I didn't think I'd achieve it, but I got one. It's lovely.
To say that you've ran on the MCG grand final day and won a premiership, no one can ever take it off you. It's something that I can live with forever. I'm very proud of it. And very lucky.
The people who turn up week in, week out to watch Richmond, they deserve an opportunity to experience some good times, I think.